Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by Twitch. Fun is now a Twitch partner and offering some awesome subscriber-only benefits. Subscribe today or get a free subscription each month when you have Amazon Prime by linking your account and clicking subscribe. Coming up on Fun Recap, Festival of Champions is confirmed dead and new layouts for Champs Arenas. Teams are starting to release multiple Cube auto teasers. Week 0 events are already underway. Plus, we'll check in with 2 members of our live audience to see how their teams are tackling the Week 6 of the Power Up Challenge. Reporting for First Updates Now, I'm Tyler Rolds.
And I'm Pauline Teskey. Our producer is Nick Olson. Mike, Justin, and Christine have the night off.
Slackers.
Yeah. Let's introduce our guest for this evening. PJ Lualski, I hope I said that right, is a referee for several events for First in Michigan and will be one of the hosts on the First in Michigan Region Recap Show.
Hello, everybody. Here trying to pretend I can fill Justin and Mike's shoes, so we'll see how this goes.
So PJ, what's the name? Is there a special name for this First in Michigan show? You come up with some weird pun yet?
Nick did not appreciate my puns, so as of now, we're still just sticking with First in Michigan Recap because Nick does not appreciate my humor.
All right, chat. We need you guys to come up with a good name for the First in Michigan Recap, so go ahead and do that. Speaking of things as well, too, we do have a fantastic giveaway tonight, courtesy of Team 1720 Fixed Gears, who are the creators of the Bat Hawk. One winner near the end of the show will receive a 4-pack of these awesome devices that instantly let you know if your battery has the voltage for your next match. To win, make sure you follow or subscribe and type in the specific keyword when prompted. Don't forget that subscribers get 5 times luck on drawings, and you can subscribe for free through Twitch Prime or for just a few bucks a month. And if you're not watching live, you can still subscribe, or of course, we do welcome donations. If you don't mind skipping that cup of coffee once a month, just click that little donation link down there. We'd appreciate your support. Hey, just a real quick heads up, guys. One of you guys have a mic rubbing just before we keep going. So just make sure you check that before we keep moving on there. Alrighty.
Okay. I hope it's not me.
I'll say it's not me. Mine's out of the way.
Mine's like all the way inside. Okay, whatever. Anyway.
All right.
Our recap for tonight reflects back on the announcement made last Tuesday by FRC Director Frank Merrick and President Don Bossi, detailing that the Festival of the Champions has been discontinued, and also confirming that Einstein Round Robins will take place in the Cobo Center for Detroit and the George R. Brown Center in Houston. Also, the layouts of both championship centers will change to closer reflect a straight row of fields, with Einstein Round Robins taking place on the 2 center fields. PJ, I want to get your input on these decisions, but I want to start by quoting Don Bossi and getting your reaction to the following. One item of note was that the teams already felt like world-class champions at the conclusion of the first championship events, just as they had in previous years. Another was that the additional resources required to travel and compete at another official first event created a hardship for many teams. For those and other reasons, we have decided to discontinue the Festival of Champions event. What do you think, PJ?
When I first heard this, I was initially disappointed that they were getting rid of it, but then the more I thought about it, I sort of get the decision because I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch Festival of Champions last year. I sort of forgot that it existed until like the day after when I saw, because I've got friends from Lightning and Strike Force, because, you know, all the Michigan people, and the people were posting how they won, and I was like, oh, that happened yesterday. So I can understand why they did it, and I know I'm not the only one who not necessarily forgot that it existed, but wasn't necessarily paying attention when it happened because it was in the middle of July. And I get the resource and I get the money, and I do get all that. So I've become more content, I guess, with the decision, because it's sort of like when 2 Champs was announced initially, where I was initially very opposed to it, and then I realized that you sort of just have to accept it because this is what they're doing for this year, at least. Who knows what they'll do in the future, or if they have plans for something else. As for the first part of that quote, the part about, you know, that teams already felt like world-class champions, I can't overly speak to that because I have never won a world championship. So I don't know what the 2 Champs alliances felt like. But I can see where their logic is once again, because you've gone through the gauntlet. You've gone through this grueling elimination process, going through like the Einstein round robins last year seemed maybe not more intense matches, but more grueling, because it was just like the cycle time of the matches and just with like everybody was on the field. I feel like it was much more of a gauntlet type event. And so at the end of that, I can see where, you feel like you've earned this championship. But like I said, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to them, but I can agree with most of his statement. I'll put it that way.
All right, so PJ, you kind of queued this up well here, because we actually today reached out to the Festival Champions teams, the teams that went to Festival Champions, to see what their reactions would be to this as well. And actually 6 of the 8 Festival Champion teams responded back to us. So I want to read through these. First up, I want to say I didn't watch Festival Champions either, but I was in China and my flight was leaving the next day. So I watched afterwards, and I thought the event was overall put together pretty well. I mean, there were some things in the webcast that didn't look, we've talked about this a lot, but from everybody who talked to that went to Festival Champions there, they all seemed pretty, they all thought it was a really good event. And so let me read off the quotes. I'm going to go through each team here that I received a response back to, and I'm going to read this verbatim, and some of these are longer than others, so bear with me. First one is from Adam from 973. It says that 973 fully appreciates the reasoning behind First decisions to cancel Festival Champions and understands that it is a very expensive event for just 8 teams. However, we can only speak for our team. We definitely did not consider ourselves world champions going into or coming out of the event. We are proud of our season and consider reaching Festival Champions to be a huge accomplishment still, but the Alliance 2767 led is the 2017 champions. Next one from Allison from 862. When asked about if Don Bosie's comment is on point, yes and no. After both Einsteins and Festival Champions, I felt like a winner, but there's definitely a stigma associated with being a half champ, and I'm very glad that Festival Champions was a thing. I understand as First grows, it becomes harder to have this type of event, but I would like to see a real champs again in the future to allow amazing teams from across the world to meet each other and to allow people to strive to be the real champion. Next one from 254, who responded back to us. This was from their Facebook page. I didn't get who this was specifically, but this is from their page specifically. We are fortunate to have experienced winning the championship both before the split and after. Winning in St. Louis in 2011-2014 felt like a much greater accomplishment than in 2017, both before and after competing at the Festival Champions. While the Festival Champions itself was a great experience, did not feel like the same pinnacle of competition that was the same championship in 2016 before. Not to mention presenting many logistical and cost obstacles that in our view justifies discontinuation. Our ideal would be to move to a single championship model fed exclusively by districts. Next one, Ryan from 1676. After match 2 of Festival Champions, after Houston was up 2-0, I'd come to terms with us losing. We fought our best, and if Houston had won a third match, I would have been okay not calling ourselves the world champions. They would have earned that title. Luckily, things worked out differently for us, but it was due to Festival Champions that we even had a chance to settle it once and for all. Sure, First had some things to work out with Festival Champions, including the welcome reception and tours at DECA, which absolutely sucked. But all in all, my kids loved it. It gave everyone the disclosure that it needed after 2 champs, and it's something that I certainly will never forget. I understand that the event cost First time and money that they didn't want to commit, but in my mind, at least they could continue to please the FRC community. I certainly feel bad for all the future teams that won't get to experience Festival Champions, and very grateful that we had the opportunity to. This is just another thing First is changing. It truly shows that the program is no longer about serving the teams, but serving the corporate organization itself. 2 more. One from Brandon from 4188. We were only finalists at Houston, so being invited to replace a team that beat us that couldn't attend the Festival Champions didn't make us feel like champions. It just felt like we didn't belong. That feeling was intensified when our new Alliance captain decided not to play us in any matches, despite the strategic advantages we brought to the table. Once a finalist, always a finalist. Interesting take there. Last one from 5499 from Boris. The team had a lot of fun at Festival Champions last year, and we would love to see First keep the tradition going. So, Pauline, after you're hearing those quotes, and PG, I'll give you a chance to respond to those too. Can you give us your thoughts about Festival Champions and then anything based off the quotes you just heard?
So for Festival of Champions, I actually didn't watch it live, just like you guys. I eventually watched the matches a little bit later. I was at work, but yeah, like late at night at work. That was my life this summer. But I liked the idea of Festival of Champions. I do think they made Festival of Champions to appease the FRC community of having a true, championship alliance. But I do agree with a lot of the quotes, like what 254's Facebook page said, that it didn't feel like champs at champs. And I heard that from a lot of my friends. Ryan's quote's really great about how you don't feel like a true winner. Like the first community always pushes the idea of like, you want to try to be the best. Like that's what this program's about. And I feel like even if Festival of Champions went really well, I feel like they still would have discontinued it just because I think they were doing it this year for the two champs to try to appease everyone. And it was a lot of money. Like I know like before people were trying to haggle the price of like some first paying for some teams to come, all that stuff. I think that's the big push of why it's not there, but I do wish it was still there because I don't think half champions are real champions. And I think a lot of people feel that way too. You'll never know if you're truly the best if like you never got a chance to compete, is what I think.
Yeah. I guess just to sort of clarify what I was saying before is I definitely agree that I want something in the vein of one champion. I agree with 254 in that everybody should be districts and we should feed into one champs that way. But I mean, I'm from Michigan, so districts are in my blood at this point. So I just want to clarify that I do want one champion. I was more just saying earlier that I understand why they chose to discontinue this method of earning one champion. Additionally, just one point, not about Festival Champions, but just because it's in this topic, about the new setup, just sort of transitioning, I guess, just because this was in this section too.
Yep.
I was talking to some people earlier because I haven't been to Kobo in like 6 or 7 years. So I couldn't remember what the setup looked like. And as I talk to people, I don't think there's a long enough space, because I know this picture is specifically for Houston. Like they said, Detroit will be similar, but that picture of the 6 side by side, they said was Houston. And I don't think, and people I was talking to I don't think there's space in Kobo to do 6 lengthwise like that. So I don't know what they mean by similar, but they might have to double stack them or like a couple of, I don't know what they'll do. Like I said, this was based on a bunch of us sort of like estimating in our heads size-wise, but Kobo doesn't really have a super long area like that. So I don't think Kobo is going to end up looking like that, which would then be even worse for round robin seating potentially, especially if they end up double stacked. Like if they're doing 2 on one side, if you're in any of the 3 that are on the other side, you're going to be screwed out of it.
So I see what you're saying, because necessarily if you're sitting on the other side of the seating, you might not then be able to see anything, right? So, well, that's. I mean, is that possibly true though? Like with the way that it's set up, Nick, can you show the diagram once again? The way that it's set up on there is that I would assume people can see from both sides. If that's correct, because there's still like scorekeeping and all this queuing and stuff that goes on behind the field. So yeah, I wonder. One thing I'm curious that they didn't release for Houston is what the capacity for that. So if we were to take like those 2 sections that are right there, including what looks like a little bit larger upper section as well too, what is the capacity of that? I think that's a question that first will hopefully answer, because I think that's the key indicator, because we know, I'm sure first has metrics of how many people go to championships. So it'll be interesting. One other thing I want to point out though is that how many, one of the big reasons why Einstein is very, typically much more filled up, at least in my experience in St. Louis, is that you have FLO and FTC there. Now that Einstein round robins are at this arena instead, is that going to fill nearly as much, or the FLLers and FTCers either one going to go home to make their way over to Minute Maid or Ford Field?
That's true.
Yeah.
I will say though, the new lineup, I really like it. So I was at Houston last year. It really did feel like 6, 8, whatever, how many divisions there were, different competitions.
Sure.
It didn't feel like champs to me. Like it was weird. Like I've been to St. Louis, my entire FRC career is just weird, not seeing all the teams when I look side to side. So I do agree. I like that layout. And I do think the Houston picture, it obviously works because it was such a long arena. Yeah. But yeah, what Tyler said about it filling up because FTC and FLL isn't there, I think that's actually going to be a big problem. Yeah.
All right. Anything else to talk about before we wrap up this segment? Alrighty. So we're going to move on to our next part, and Nick, we're going to flip the colors just so you know. So as the season progresses, guys, we really want to reach out and talk to some of you that are in Fun Nation and watching the shows, and really the see how the teams are tackling the Power Up Challenge. We have 2 callers who are both subscribers to Fun to come and let us know if they're already done. First off, are they on their second, third, fourth robot, whatever they're doing, or if they're still struggling to even assemble their drive chassis. So we're going to bring on the callers on here. Oh, Apple Mike, I tell you. Bring on a couple callers on here. First one we're going to bring up, as I said, we're going to go in reverse order here. It's going to be Devin0810, who I believe is from Team 1982. So let's see if we can bring him in. Hi, Devin, are you there?
There we go. Hi.
How's it going?
Good, good.
So, Devin, can you introduce yourself, what team you're from, and your name, that sort of thing?
Sure. I'm Devin Keeney. I am the captain of Team 1982, Cougar Robotics in Shawnee, Kansas.
All right, and you said you're the captain, so are you a student currently on the team?
Yes, I am a senior in high school.
Okay, so awesome, man. So can you kind of break down where you guys were at so far, week 6, what you're looking at accomplishing, and kind of what's been going well, what hasn't been going well for you?
Yeah, sure. So this year has been the first year we've actually managed to build more than 1 robot. Not quite 2. We've been calling it 1.5 robots.
Okay.
So we built 2 full drive bases full of electronics and everything, and then 1 upper elevator manipulator. So we've got 1 robot working with the upper manipulator. We've been tuning PID earlier today, and then we finished the electronics on the second robot which we painted last week. So we want to try practice a little bit this weekend, everything with that. So I wish we got a little more practice in, but so far I'm still feeling fairly confident about where we are.
All right, so tell me about, first of all, are you guys going to any Week 0 events at all?
We are. The Lee Summit teams, which includes Team Titanium, 1730, and 1987, they host a Week 0 every year, so we'll be attending that, hopefully, assuming nothing disastrous happens in the next 2 days or whatever. You never know. But we'll be attending that, as well as a few local teams and us have been trying to work together about getting together for a smaller practice at some point.
Very cool. And then tell us about the events you're going to and what you're looking forward to in that before we wrap up with you.
So we are going to 2 regionals, the Heartland Regional and the Iowa Regional. I am very excited for the Heartland Regional. We've got 2451 and 2481 both there, so very excited, a little bit scared. And then we also plan on, we have already read for the Iowa Regional. I'm very excited for that one for a lot of international teams.
Hold on 1 second there. Colin, can you mute your mic, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Devin.
So very excited for all the international presence there, especially, middle of Iowa, but yeah.
All right, very exciting. And by the way, how many giveaways do we have to bribe you with in order to get early photos of 1986?
It might be a few. They're usually pretty adamant about no pictures about at the Week 0, but I'll see what I can do.
No picture, whatever. That's a bunch of BS.
I also have a question for Devin.
Yeah, go ahead, PJ.
So, Devin, so how is 1982 how are they gonna be compared to your abysmal fantasy picks from this year?
Oh my god!
Wow.
Really?
I had to throw a little bit of shade.
Fair enough. All right. Hopefully slightly better. Saying one of our fantasy picks is also us, but that's that.
All right, Devin. Well, hey, best of luck to you in 1982 this season. We can't wait to see you guys compete, and hopefully we'll see your robot reveal video coming out soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
Bye. I cut him off halfway through. My bad.
Oh, no.
Bye.
All right, let's bring in our next caller here, who is in chat, known as CNC Bride 166. He's from Team Chop Shop, and let's see if we can get him on. You there, sir?
I'm here. How you doing?
Great. How about yourself?
Not too bad.
Do you mind introducing yourself? And I'm assuming you're from 166, but listen a little bit about yourself and your team.
Sure. So my name's Connor McBride. I'm an alumni and mentor for Team 166 Chop Shop. I'm from Merrimack, New Hampshire. And the Twitch chat is C McBride 166.
Yeah, so give them some shout outs, guys. So hey, what's going on with Chop Shop, man? Tell us about your season so far and which robot iteration you're already on.
So, God, I don't even know where to begin on iterations. We're probably maybe on our 12th or 13th iteration of our intake, and we're just getting it modeled in Creo right now. But so far, our season is finally pulling together right now. We got our elevator system all nice and welded up. Finished that up today. We got our powder coating for our competition chassis in today. Got a lot of parts from McMaster coming in, Vex Pro. We got our transmissions assembled today. So looks like we'll be building everything in the next couple of days and hopefully get some practice over the weekend.
So with 166, you guys have been around for a really long time as a team. So tell me a little bit about as you guys go from year to year, like what do you build upon each year? Because I know it's fresh students and occasionally fresh mentors and that sort of thing. But as you look at your past performances, like what do you really take to heart to try to improve upon each year?
We're just trying to improve upon, well, I guess just trying to figure out what works well and what doesn't. We keep our binders of a lessons learned, and we just try and follow off on that. You know, sometimes we're a little hit or miss. It happens.
All right. So with you guys, we asked the last caller as well too. Are you guys going to week 0 event? And then what events are you going to? And what are you looking most forward to?
So we were signed up for the official week 0 event hosted by First themselves, but we just pulled out the other day. We're not going to have our robot ready for it, unfortunately. And we could totally use that day for some software integration, practicing auto codes and driver practice as well.
So let me ask you, so, I mean, what is kind of that? You made a great point because that is essentially day that kind of gets taken away to be at your shop sort of thing, right? And I know you teams that get on bag locally, that's a spoiled thing that you have now. So let me ask in regards to where does that decision process make? Like, what's the threshold for that? You're like, okay, we just really need to work back at our shop. It's not worth it for us to go out to the scrimmage or we're not going to be ready.
Are you trying like when we determine that?
Yeah.
We kind of determine it we start to think about it like 2 weeks before the event. We're like, okay, let's look at where we're at right now. When can we get this stuff done? Let's try and figure out a new timeline of when everything is going to fit together. And we'll look at it day by day, and then we'll call it when, unfortunately, at the last second, we don't like to be those kind of people. But unfortunately, that's the way it has to go sometimes.
I definitely feel that. We're hosting a week 0 on Code Orange, and I don't even think we're playing in our week 0.
Yeah, we hosted the official week 0 for 3 years, and for our second year, we didn't even compete in it. We were still doing software integration in our lab.
That's what I feel. I just rush ordered Vex Pro, so I don't think we're ready either.
It sucks to not be at your own, but sometimes that's the way it has to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about the events that you're going to, and who's really kind of on your radar. You're in the New England district, is that correct?
Yep. So we're going to the Southeast Mass event in Reading, Mass. There we're looking at 58, the Riot Crew, 78, Air Stryke. Looking through Blue Alliance right now. 2168, Aluminum Falcons. They won the New England District Championship last year and the year before with 195. We see our good friends 5813 Morpheus at that event, as well as at our second event at the University of New Hampshire district a few weeks later. At that event, we are looking forward to playing with 131 Chaos, one of the, as well as 39 Bob and 1519
Polly Mike. Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
I'm sorry. Did you have any others? You kind of got overshadowed there by a little static.
No, that was it.
All right. Well, hey, anything you want to leave us with before we let you go at all? We really wish you guys best of luck, by the way.
No, just looking forward to what the rest of the season holds. So can't really. Right. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, good luck to you guys in 166, and we'll look forward to seeing your team at the New England Mass and the UNH event. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's going to wrap up our callers there. So with that said, by the way, if you guys are interested in calling in, we will occasionally be taking callers. We're making it into one of our sub perks to kind of give them first dibs and first shot at calling in to let us know how your team's doing. Because it's great to hear about from different teams all over the FRC community, and we'd love to have international teams participate as well. But if we have opportunities at other times, go ahead and join the call-in queue. If we bring you in, we might. Sometimes we bring you in and you don't expect it, and it's even more fun that way as well.
It's like a fun surprise.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you need the Discord link, go ahead and type !Discord in the Twitch chat, and that will give you a chance, or that will give you the link for Discord.
All right, so then we're going to be moving on to our next topic. So with build season coming to a close next Tuesday, geez, already, many teams are choosing to attend Week 0 events to test out how their robot might fare against the Power Up Challenge. This weekend, we saw our first event take place with the Regal Eagle Rampage in New York. After watching some of the event and looking back at the Texas MCC competition just a few weeks back, it seems that Power Up might actually offer scoring opportunities for teams of all calibers. It could lead to some pretty competitive Week 1 regionals. Pauline, assuming that your mic isn't just a burst of static, what did you see in the Regal Eagle Rampage event, and what do you hope to see at other Week 0 events that are taking place this weekend?
I really don't know why it's so staticky. I'm so sorry.
We've just been savage to Pauline pre-stream
today, too. I moved my hair. Like, I don't know. Anyway, like what you said, I do think it's really cool that a lot of calibers of teams can actually play competitively in this event, or in this game rather. Like the low caliber team, the powerhouse, everyone has a place, and it reminds me a lot of 2014 Aerial Assist. Everyone could provide something to the alliance, and I really love that. What I did notice is a lot of tall, tippy robots, which was my biggest fear. And a lot of people having to drive very slow, looking like they're about to fall, and that really terrifies me. Because I guarantee you, during finals, somewhere, someone's going to fall, not make their climbs or not make their shots, and they're just over with.
I mean, at least hopefully during a real competition, if anything tips, it'll be robots and not, the scale.
Yeah, no trusses falling, I hope, like 2014.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about that a little bit, by the way? And I know we're going to actually bring on Smitty, who was the emceeing and helped run the Regal Eagle Rampage event. But there was a point, and we'll show a little bit later, where the robot literally just ran into the scale. And now it is a wooden scale, so keep that in mind. But it brings up an interesting point. I talked to a good friend of mine on another team that actually said that they ran into the scale with their robot and did a lot of damage to their bot in practice. Are we going to see teams like essentially just like running the scale and knocking themselves over or knocking into another robot? Like, as Pauline mentioned, is this going to be the trust of 2018?
Definitely.
Yes, I would, especially there's certain events, like there's an event I have in mind right now, Week 2, the Centerline District in Michigan. It's going to happen. They're going to fall over. There will be several that fall over because that's just the event that it's going to happen at.
Please
why do you say that event?
Centerline is my favorite event in the entire world, the Centerline District in Michigan, because I will referee that event every year until I die, because you will see things at that event that you will never see at any other FRC event for the rest of the season. For example, last year, this didn't happen. This wasn't the only place I have it, but there was a match where an alliance scored 0 points, which last year is near impossible to do because you need to forget that the free gear exists and not cross the line in auto. There's a lot of things that have to happen for you to get 0 points. In 2014, Centerline was the only event in all of FRC where the 8th seeded alliance won the event. And they did that totally by exploiting penalties, because that was Week 1 of 2014 when basically you could force your opponents to get fouls, and it was a train wreck. And so that was the only event in the entire year where the 8th seed alliance won the event. So I'm just predicting that if I'm going to see it happen, it's going to be at Centerline.
Interesting take. So, Pauline, can you expand a bit more? I mean, you were around 2014 as well. We saw that happen plenty of times. Tell us a bit more about what you think is going to happen.
I mean, I think a lot of people are going to overlook the practice it takes to drive well on the field. A lot of people are going to run into the scale. A lot of people are going to run into a lot of things. And I do think this year is a lot about driver practice and strategy more than just the robot design of typical years. And I do think it's going to be a big thing at every competition, even champs that might happen, honestly. So it's crazy. And I think as build season closes, try to get some practice time, especially if you only have one robot. Try to get a little bit of practice time. Understand where things are. If there's a field near you, try to go there. We're privileged to have a field, and we get that opportunity, but a lot of teams don't. But try to see it in person. just to understand.
So, hey guys, as we talk a bit more about this, as I mentioned, we do have Smitty, who is from Regal Eagles, who is, we're going to bring on to actually talk about the event a little bit that just happened. They're from, once again, 2869 Regal Eagles out of New York. So let's welcome in Smitty to the call and see if she's on. You there? Uh-oh. Says you're muted. Says
oh,
you're
no.
muted. Click the little microphone button.
I had the same problem.
Well, we've had a lot of problems today.
I have problems in general.
All right, well, she just dropped out. We'll see if we can get back in. Let's try that again. Go ahead. Somebody, if you can hear us, go ahead and press that little microphone button on the bottom. That should get you to talk. Unless I mess something up, which could be my fault. And if so, I'm going to make that change right now. So hold on. It's always possible. So let's try this one more time. Technology is great.
She keeps coming.
I think she dropped out. All right. So we'll see if we can get her back on to talk. If not, we have other Week 0 events coming up that we talked about, as some of our callers talked about as well. But what do you guys go to any Week 0 events, or what do you really look forward to, I guess, in a Week 0 event? I mean, it's always one of those things like, yeah, we want to see robots do something, but is this a good indicator, like, based on the competition we saw in this week, we'll call -1 event from before? Is this a good indicator of what power-up's going to be, or are we going to see a bit more coming into this next set of Week 0s?
On 9/10, when I was involved, we never did a Week 0 event. There's not a lot of Week 0 events in Michigan, which always surprises. It always surprised me. Like, Kettering hosts one, but it's only for a handful. Usually only a couple teams go. And then I think there's one out on the west side of the state, out in Grand Rapids area. Pauline, your microphone.
Hold on, Pauline. Are you on a Mac?
No, I don't even own a Mac.
What is going on? Oh
I'm on my Pixel and these headphones. I don't know.
All right, go ahead, PJ.
Anyway, so 9/10, never, like I said, there's not a ton of Week 0 events in Michigan. Like I said, I think there's one out on the west side. I know Kettering does one, but I think a lot of teams are very secretive in Michigan. Maybe that's part of it. Also, but I know 9/10, I don't think in the 11 years I was involved with the team, I don't think we ever would have had a robot we were capable of competing at a Week 0 with. I don't think we have ever put a complete robot in a bag, ever. It's always missing something, and so we need that last up until, we're bagging at 11:58, 11:59 p.m., trying to get every little last second of practice, every little last bit of everything we can get. So we've never done a Week 0, and like I said, just because they're kind of rare in Michigan, which has always surprised me.
So in Wisconsin, we have a couple Week 0 events that go on each year, and one of them specifically that's in Sussex each year. We get a really good indicator of kind of how some of the competition in Wisconsin is going to line up, and I love the benefit of the event. So and one thing maybe to get your guys' comment on too is teams going to the event, and we heard Connor speak a little bit earlier, is you kind of got to make the call. Is it worth it to go to the event, or is it worth it to stay home and work? And if you can get your team out there to go and be an event and actually practice on a somewhat real field to get your drivers that experience, I think is very, very, very valuable for something like that. However, I totally get, if you got to stay and work on your own shop, that's totally fine too. But to be able to interact with other robots, to start to be able to get the feel and hopefully the energy of how Power Up is, I think is a really important experience to have.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because after watching the Regal Eagles, like, I didn't watch it live because I was working, but I tried to watch through the matches that were posted, and I noticed some things that I hadn't necessarily thought of, and that maybe teams wouldn't have thought of until they're in a live match. For example, I noticed a lot of teams had issues picking up cubes. Like, I think a lot of teams thought that picking up the power cubes would be super easy, and I noticed there was a lot of gripper issues. Same kind of thing. It seemed really hard. Once a team controlled the scale, that was pretty much game over with the scale. Nobody really tried to get it. So I don't know if it's because teams underestimate, like, obviously we all know how tall it gets when you tilt it, but I think a lot of teams, that's their upper limit. And so it's much harder to I think at least in week 1 events and maybe weaker regionals, weaker district events, it's going to come down to whoever controls the scale first might control it the whole match. And then the last thing I kind of noticed, which I thought was going to happen, but it was nice to see confirmation that I'm not crazy, was that the areas next to the switches So like it's very narrow on the field, and those choke points are going to be key in defense play, and also will be a very likely place where you got to be careful. Speaking as the referee that I am, careful of blockading and things like that, because those choke points are going to be used. And even if you're accidentally covering up both areas, you could quickly get a blockading call, which I believe is a yellow card for your alliance. So those are just a couple things I noticed. So,
Paul, I want to get one last take from you, and then I think we have Smitty ready to go. So, anything else from you in regards to the week zeros?
I think week zeros are super useful. Code Orange, I think, hasn't attended one since our rookie year. I think they're really useful for teams who don't build second robots, and I think they're really useful for teams who don't have fields. For that, I think it's a great way to see the game. I don't think it's a good representation of how the matches are actually going to play out. These robots haven't had much strategy. No one's copied anyone. Like, it's a lot of just very low-level robots trying to score some cubes, but it is a great learning resource. And usually they end up breaking, and you go home and fix it anyway. So it's okay. I think it's a good resource.
One thing I want to mention too, so Connor, who's for 166, who called in earlier, put in chat that I forgot to add that they are sending their scouting team to local week zero events. That's a great point, is that even if you can't send your robot, why not send a couple people to go check out the event and do some scouting and get used to figuring out how you're going to scout, that sort of thing. I think that's a great idea. So
910 has done that. We did that a couple years back for the Kettering event. I took, because I was the scouting mentor, I took my head scout and 2 students, and we went there and just sort of, it gave us it. So that was something we did that was super valuable. I think that was 2014, maybe 2013.
You can make up a year.
Yeah. In the past, in the good old days.
All right, so I think we do have Smitty ready to go. Are you there? Big money.
Oh no.
There's no muted microphone next to your name. You have no excuse now.
Oh no.
Oh, still having issues. Well, that's all right. We'll see if we can get her on later in the show. If not, we're gonna end up moving on to our next topic here in just a little bit as well too. So a couple things I want to mention as we bring on the next topic is, first off, we do have a giveaway that's going to be starting very soon. Actually, I think we're going to start that in just a moment here. And somebody said they could hear her.
I couldn't
hear anything.
I couldn't hear anything either.
All right, we're going to give her one more shot, guys. The power of live programming. Let's see if she made it. Big money, no whammies. If chat can hear her and we can't, by the way, that'd be really super crazy, and a bunch of weird gremlins that went on, but it wouldn't surprise me. Smitty, are you there?
They said she said, "Oh no." I'm pretty sure that was Pauline who said that.
Yeah, I said, "Oh no." That's like my catchphrase. She left.
Yeah, I moved her out. So, all right, so I'm just sad. You should have been on Fun After Dark, by the way, if you want to see Tyler handle callers. So
Tyler cut me off in 5 seconds on Fun After Dark. So
literally, if you didn't move forward, if you didn't get the trivia question right, you're gone. All right, so with that said, we are going to start our giveaway here in just a little bit. And Nick, if you don't mind throwing that back up on what the giveaway is, we are going to be giving away some of the fixed gears, 4-pack of Bat Hawks for these are really cool, by the way. And even if you don't win them, go ahead and check them out. They do sell them at animart.com. This is a fundraiser too for fixed gears, so it's super cool that they're giving a really, really cool product. And then also something that's really great for your robot, and it's making them money too at the same time. I think that's something that's really awesome. And so make sure you go and support them as well. But if you want to be part of the giveaway, here's what you got to do. You do have to make sure you do follow or subscribe. Our subscribers do get extra luck for subscribing. By the way, you can do so for free through Twitch Prime. And if you didn't know, even if you're not into the giveaways, we actually do get some cash for when you subscribe through Twitch Prime. So it's free for you. We get money. It's kind of a win-win, and we give you bonuses. Otherwise, if you got a few bucks, that supports First Updates Now as well. We really, really appreciate it. So we can keep making great shows for you, just like this one, right, guys?
Exactly.
So with that, you know what? We're going to start a buy Pauline a new microphone fund. That's
please. Guys, blame Patrick. It's his headphones.
That sounds like an excuse.
Yes.
It is an excuse, and I'm going to go with it.
There you go. So with that said, if you'd like to be entered into the giveaway, you're going to go ahead and type the word Amperage, AMPERAGE. Man, I hope I spelt that right. And that will give you the opportunity to enter the giveaway. So go ahead and go. You can spam as many times as you want. You only get one entry, but this is the one time we don't care if you spam. So with that said, by the way, I do want to mention too, if you don't know, we did actually open up a Snapchat now under First Updates Now. So go ahead and add us for that. Yeah, PJ's been a big leader in that. And PJ, can you tell us about some of the teams that have actually taken over our Snapchat? Because we're actually having different teams from all around the world do our Snapchat.
Yeah, so we started with, I figured we'd start with a bang and go with one of our new Hall of Fame teams. So we had Thunder Down Under a couple weeks ago as our first one. And then we had one of our hosts, Christina Tia, took it over with the Neutrons. And then the Killer Bees did it last week. They only had 3 students in the shop, so Nick had to be creative with things to show. But I was amused. I thought it was really cool. And I don't officially have a team for this week yet. I know Pauline mentioned maybe doing it, so it might be Code Orange. So
when if Pauline came in and just call her out on the spot like that?
Yeah, I don't know. She said she'd be willing to do it. I don't have a team. So.
Our kids are obsessed with Snapchat. Like the Code Orange Snapchat is weird, so I would be down.
Okay, so it might be Code Orange later in this week. Stay tuned for an actual announcement. Just because I was busy this weekend and I forgot to get a team before today. So,
by the way, Caltrans says, you know what has a great mic? The Cooler Master Pulse Pros. Cooler Master, you know what? Let's connect again, man. And you can send us some free stuff. We'll work it out. We'll get Pauline a headset. So if you do that, we'll put your logo on stuff. So get ahead and get in contact with me.
We'll put a little commercial at the beginning.
Let's make a deal. So I'm ready. Let's make a deal.
I live 10 minutes from their headquarters in California.
And you haven't gotten us any Cooler Master money. Shame on you.
Well, okay, that's another subject for another time.
All right. Should I move on to the next topic? Okay. Let's wrap up tonight's show talking about autonomous teasers and robot reveal videos. 3 that we have seen so far are 1806's 2-cube auto, 1678's 3-cube auto, and 291's robot reveal. Tyler, let's talk about these, but also what do you look forward to in teasers? And also if you want to talk about robot reveals, I'm sure Premiere Night will have a lot of them. Also, I want to point out, Tyler put 1676 instead of 1678 every time he wrote it in the show doc. I had to change all of them.
They're basically the same team, right?
It's funny, yeah. No, I do it every time. It's funny because I was talking to our producer Nick earlier too, and I messed the same thing up when with a quote from Ryan as well, because I don't know why I interchanged those numbers, but I just do. So speaking of which, Pauline, did you just let me plug another thing? Wow. So hey guys, speaking of which, if you don't know, Premiere Night is a go. We are doing that on the 24th, so it's coming up pretty soon. So if you're not familiar with Premiere Night, is the largest FRC robot reveal video night that there is. Last year we had 64 teams from 5 different countries submit their robot reveal videos. They're 90 seconds or less, so that means you can put together something really cool. If you want to release a longer reveal video later, you can do that as well. But this is a great night. Last year we had over 20,000 views on our Premiere Night. So if you're interested in being part of that, we'll put a link in chat in just a little bit for you. It's also on Sheet Delphi under the user announcements. It's on our Facebook page. It's also on our website as well. So you can sign up for the interest form, and then in the interest form, there's also the submission link if you're just ready to submit as well. But submissions are going to be due by Thursday the 22nd, 7 p.m. Eastern. So because that night I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to make hopefully a really cool teaser video. That's why we need them in by then. And then tune in the 24th, 7 p.m. Get your team ready. This is one of the cool things is that we have so many teams just get together and watch Premiere Night. And it's such a cool thing to hear about and to get feedback. And we've had great feedback on it. And a big thing that we're going to be doing this time around is expect less intermissions between the videos. We're going to be talking a little bit about kind of what maybe the best video was in each group, but then we're going to keep moving on because we're hoping we're going to get even more than 64 this year, and we want to keep moving on. We don't want to make it a 5-hour stream, but expect a couple hours of great Premiere Night videos. We're also hoping, fingers crossed, and I hope Zach hears this, to get on the front page for that as well too at Twitch, so we can get even more people introduced to Power Up and First Robotics. So with that said, to answer your question, and we'll do /and plug. Robot reveals in the queue. So I want to show, first off, we can put up the 1806 two-tote reveal out here because I love how this has become a thing now. It's just like, let's just slap something over it. But I'm just wondering, like, I'm assuming Raising Cane's is some like restaurant or brand of where they're from, right? And then like some big It's Southern, right? So some big chicken tender just comes up and drops a cube in. And they have a couple different viewpoints of that, but like, I think this is awesome. And the start to get this, and then we'll move on to the next one because I don't want to discredit SWAT here because like getting the 2 in here, like this is amazing. Like this is so cool to be able to see this ahead of time already. And one of the things that it always pops in my head, and we talked about 1986 earlier, is like, man, they're going to show like 30 of these, right? Because that's what 1986 does. So I expect at least 84 autonomous modes from them.
I assume 1986 has like a 50-kid programming team at this point. Like,
oh my goodness,
with how many autons they put out, like how many kids do they have programming?
Yeah.
Yeah, one for each kid. But 1806 SWAT, by the way, they built really good robots over the last few years, and I'm really looking forward to what their robot's going to do. Obviously, they got a lot of great things going for them already. And the man, two-toed auto, I think that's a winner for a competition already. So great job by them. Anybody else want to talk about 1806 before we move on to the next one?
I definitely agree with what you're saying. I don't know when 1806 is competing, like week-wise, but as I was saying before, I think the scale is once in early events, if you control the scale, you're going to control the match. And if you can have 2 cubes on the scale at the beginning, it looks like they're doing week 2. So at a week 2.
Yeah, 2 and 5, I think.
Yeah, so at a week 2 event, I mean, Heartland's a relatively stacked regional. But at the same time, like if they can get those 2 up there, it's going to be very hard in quals to even beat them at that point because they'll just be racking up those points.
For sure. I think it's great that teams are releasing this stuff early. It makes me really excited about the season.
All right, let's take a look at our next one here. I've heard of this team before. I don't know what their team number is, apparently.
1676.
Yes. So this is the Super World Champion, 1676 Hashtag Pioneers, right? So, I mean, I can't tell. How do I know which team it is if I can't see the robot or anything? So,
it's obviously Team SpaceX.
Yes, Team SpaceX. So
you Pauline's
actually part of this team. But I mean, watch this. 1, 2, 3. Replay that again. I want to see this once again. Look at it. Let's just appreciate this for a moment. So you got one right up in the air right away, right onto the scale. Picking one up onto the switch, and then right from there as well too onto the scale. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That. Obviously she's excited. So.
And then they claim it was the first time, which we all know is absolutely true. That's the first time they ran that.
Yeah, sure. First time. So, yeah. So what do you guys think of this? I mean, this is obviously incredible, right? So, yeah. What do you think about Citrus Circuit 1678 with their robot? I mean, we're going to see another kick-ass robot, obviously, from them. But what are your thoughts? What comes to mind, Pauline? Let's start with you in regards to when you see this.
I mean, when I saw it last night, we were sitting around as all the mentors watching this video together, trying to figure out what kind of robot they have. And it's just really cool. Like a 3-cube auto, that's just insane. And just seeing it happen, seeing that it's possible is such a cool thing to see. Like our team, we're not even done building the robot yet. And seeing how far they are, it pushed our students a lot. Like today, they're all building really fast so they can get to that level. So it's really exciting.
Bag days in less in a week, so who has a robot already? Like who does that?
Exactly. I have a drive base.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one thing I noticed is that I watched that video over and over and over, and I think what's interesting is they seem to be able to score from both sides of their robot because between the switch scale, their robot doesn't turn around. It's if you watch the drive base that you can kind of see under the rocket because these are the things I look for. So that's an interesting thing because I know a lot of teams, I don't know how many teams took that into account when they were doing their design process because that's something you would have had to decide relatively early on if you're going to be able to decide. So it'll be interesting to see how many teams thought of that because a lot of teams I've talked to have no sort of capability to do that at all.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. It's also cool because this year you notice a lot of people are doing 2011 style with a lot of elevators. And just like in 2011, a lot of people are having huge arms. And I have no idea what their robot looks like, but it looks like a huge arm from this video. And I think it's an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think, unless they have a weird gripper like on the inside of the elevator that can flip back and forth, which I wouldn't put past them, let's be honest. It's 1678.
A turreted elevator.
Some sort of turreted elevator. No, that's more 971 speed. But But yeah, so I wouldn't put it past him. But like, yeah, I agree that it's probably some sort of arm. But we're all gonna look silly in a week or so when it turns out to be an elevator or something.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think nothing looks silly. They just built an amazing robot, and it's gonna just dominate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to for something like that. So before we get to the last one on here, I do want to give Smitty one other chance, and we'll see if we can get her in. Technology just happens, guys. I'll tell you on here. So let's see if she's on. Smitty, I think I hear her.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Smitty!
Hey, I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties.
No, it happens. No worries on there. So we're going to jump back a little bit. So Smitty is on the Regal Eagles and ran the Regal Eagles Rampage event. That was a week. Are we calling it 0 or -1?
Well, see, we called it a week 0, but then the venue was like, we can't have it until the week before, so it's like, we'll just stick with the name, but it'll be a -1.
All right, fair enough in there. So, give us your take on the event. So you were obviously there right in person, and the good things, bad things. Definitely, well, an interesting bad thing happened. We want to get your take on that. Give us a breakdown of the event. Give us your opinion of that in a couple of minutes.
Sure. So I think I was really surprised to see the amount of teams that there were this early in the season with a pretty complete robot. Like, obviously there's a lot of iterations that they could still be making, but seeing teams have an intake mechanism and an elevator mechanism, it to see what we have in store, because typically Southern New York, especially this time of year, isn't as competitive as we saw it be. And I really hope that this event can be a stepping stone, step it up and be able to have a venue to test their robots in the manner, because the other closest event, I know, I think Rolling Thunder is doing one in upstate New York, but also like normally teams here go to Suffield up in Connecticut, which is another 4-hour drive. So I think overall it was a really, really great opportunity for teams to set their robot. I would say it was really great success. Obviously the meme to see online likes the scale tipping over, and that has been the highlight of the event. But that happened, really, and not until later on. And when it did happen, we weighed it down, we weighed the scale down, and we screwed it into the platform. There it is. Yep. That crushed robot is actually my robot. Because, as MC, it was kind of, I had to hold back, for screaming, seeing my robot being crushed by the skull. But I will say, our robot made a full recovery in about 10 minutes. Nothing was really damaged. We retightened a couple bolts and it was ready to go. So that will be a story we will be telling judges during all of our events. We had a wooden scale tip fall over on our robot and nothing broke.
So it's robust, is what you're saying. So one other thing, Smitty, I want to ask you about is, yes, the scale fell over, but were there other robots who might have knocked into the scale or tipped over or any, like, how do you, the question that we asked our other host earlier was, are we going to see this be kind of like the Trust from 2014? What are your thoughts on that?
100%. 100%. Even when we did weigh it down, we saw at least like 70% of the robots hit the scale, have to really slow down in that area. I think it was mentioned earlier. Until I saw the full field, I didn't get a grasp for how much room there is in between the end of the field perimeter and the scale. And there really isn't that much room. Like, I'd say one robot max per side can zoom through. So you do end up with inevitably drivers hitting into the scale. We did have a couple instances where a tall robot would hit in the scale, tip back and forth a little bit, have to just wait until they evened out. And I think we will see, maybe not scales falling during competition, but definitely robots falling. And I think that's something that drivers need to start practicing with early on. And yeah, that's definitely an area where I think that people should be concentrating.
So with the event, so this is your guys' first year running the event, right? So an interesting thing is that, no matter when you run it, there's always going to be things that go right, things that go wrong. So I'm going to assume you guys are planning on running an event next year. What's the big thing for you guys? Like, for other teams that might want to run an event in the future, what would maybe be kind of a lessons learned or something that you could give them for feedback as well? Sure.
When running an event, I definitely say that planning is absolutely critical. It ran really smoothly, in my opinion, because I think that we spent months planning it. So if you do want to host something like this, everything lined up in a row, don't be afraid to ask for help. We, in the beginning, we were hesitant. We were like, we could figure it out, but definitely reaching out to the wider community, saying, what are some volunteer roles that you think are important? What are some, where you think, some volunteers could be consolidated? Where do you think we could save money on the event? Where do you think we can't? Fundraising for the event. So starting early and planning and, just having everything in a row lined up, I'd say that is the number one thing for running any kind of event. That's something I learned. And I have a whole new level of respect for people that, just because of this, the amount of stress during build season, it's just been insane.
Well, congratulations to you on a successful event, and we're looking forward to more in the future. Anything you want to tell us about Regal Eagles before we let you go, or anything you might have coming up a little bit in the future?
Very simple but effective robot, so I hope we will be releasing a reveal video, so I hope teams that are watching this will stay tuned in for that.
We'll be watching premiere night where you're submitting, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Excellent.
I don't know if you have any time. There's just one little thing I wanted to say really quickly about robots. So at our event, I only saw 2 teams really focusing on that exchange and the portal. And both of those, robots rather, were from the same team, 271. So I would say that maybe early in the week, or early weeks of competition, we might not notice that as much. But I definitely think that was really, really valuable. We saw more teams focusing on skill and switch than anything. But I think if you were able to create those really low cycle times for that exchange, you're going to be a very valuable pick for competitions, especially early on.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. That vault is so important, and it gets you so many points.
100%.
Well, Smitty, thanks for your insights, and thanks for coming on to talk about the event, and thanks for all your patience with all the technical difficulties as well. Yeah, best of luck to you guys, Regal Eagles, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. All right, guys. So let's we'll jump back here, and we were talking about some of the reveals that we've seen. And speaking of which, there has been a reveal video come out already, and I do want to point this one out here from Team 291. I think their name is CIA. I think that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So who just released a reveal video? So we're gonna let this play in the background. And PJ or Pauline, either one of you get a chance to watch this yet?
Yeah, I watched it.
I watched it a little bit. Yeah, I didn't get all the way through.
So PJ, so we have the robot here, which obviously has an interesting intake for it. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about this intake and what you're kind of seeing in regards to the effectiveness of it?
Okay. What I noticed was it's sort of a roller type claw, sort of similar to what we saw in a lot of 2011 robots. Is kind of what it reminded me. I mean, it's bigger because the cubes are bigger than the tubes, but it has the same kind of jaw roller action that a lot of very successful 2011 robots had. And I've noticed. I think Pauline mentioned it earlier that there's been a lot of 2011 inspirations going on in this year. And then, so it was interesting. I noticed they are relatively okay at picking up cubes, but I'm worried how they'll hold up against any sort of defense or anybody in their way. It looks like they have to sort of be in a relatively narrow window, but once again, this is from one reveal video. I don't know what they can do against defense and all that. And it also looks like they do sort of like a dump launch type thing onto the scale and switch. So they'll have to be careful about where they're doing it, make sure they're in a legal zone, because it looks like they'll probably get called. The way they're dumping onto that scale will probably get called as a launch. So they want to make sure they're in a legal zone when they do that.
So, Pauline, let me ask you. So, on this claw that they have here, and realize I'm not great with terminology, but do you just call this a roller claw? And one thing I want to point out is you'll see in just a little bit that they're able to, the way it's open, they can spit it out both ways. And I think they do it right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a roller claw, compressed roller claw, with a little lip underneath. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. The only thing so that robot's really cool. The only thing that concerns me is that intake. It seems like it picks up cubes well when there's one cube there. Yeah. So if they're in a corner with that tall pile, getting it from anywhere where there's more cubes, I think they're going to run into a little bit of issue. But it does look really cool. But I wonder if they look also a little bit tippy. Their weight's all on the back. But it looks good.
So, Pauline, can you tell us a little about in regards to the design for center of gravity as you guys without going too much what Code Orange is doing, as you guys look at, where's your consideration for that? Like, are you just looking into CAD and where that model's out, or how do you kind of consider when you're building the robot for this year's game?
For sure. I think when you look at this game and you see how high that cube needs to go, a question that pops into mind is always where you're going to put your center of gravity. And in 2015, when we built an elevator, it was way easier because we had there's nothing really to go over on the field. It was a low drive base. There wasn't really anything tippy, and there was a huge mass you're carrying of totes. But this year, it's much different. You're carrying one cube. And so when we were catting all the time, we were thinking about, okay, we need to add weight here. We need to add weight down there, especially with the way our robot's designed, to ensure that it wouldn't tip over, because we don't want that happening. Especially, we want our drivers to be able to not have that to go around. Like, we want to be able to give them a robot it's easy to drive, not one that they're scared is going to tip over all the time. It's a huge design constraint that I think you really need to sit down and figure out the math behind it before you decide what you want to do.
Makes a lot of sense to me. So interesting to see. And one thing that we don't see in this robot, by the way, is a climber. So obviously they're going to be either relying on the levitate or for another robot to lift them up as well. So that'll be, or they could, maybe it's not on there yet. Actually, that's a great point. Is I have no clue what the weight of that robot is, and they did call it the reveal, so one would think it's a completed bot. But there's a chance it could be something that's on there, or maybe they're just like, you know what, we got 10 pounds to spare. Let's just let somebody cheesecake us, right? Perfect strategy.
Yeah. Well, I know that because like I said, I stopped by 910's build space today, and I know that they have plans for a climber, but it's relatively low on their priority list because they're working under the assumption, sort of, that they'll be able to either levitate or there'll be enough robots with ramps or other utilization. So I know that, and I've talked to other teams who have the same kind of idea that if you're not going to be able to climb with more than one robot in some capacity, it's almost not worth prioritizing yet.
That's an interesting, fair point, right? Because robots iterate over time, and in early events, it might not matter as much. But I personally, I'm an art. I don't like that there's RPs that much personally, but I think you have to go for them. So that's an interesting point that you bring up.
For sure. I do think climbers is the easiest thing to add on, though. I think that's why a lot of teams left it out. It's an easy add-on. It's not usually that much weight, just one gearbox, a winch.
Yeah, because you can do like one of the 2010 style like flail climbers. Like there was a lot that were like that. Basically, they were spring loaded. You got one shot. If you missed, it was game over. But those were like 5-6 pounds. A lot of teams slapped those on in 2010 as the game went on.
For sure.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up here in just a second. However, apparently we did have somebody from 291 just hop on, so I'm gonna give them a moment if they can join the call-in channel queue. We'll see if we can get them in. But otherwise, we are gonna start wrapping up here. So I think the person's name is Julia, if I was told correctly. So Julia, if you do see this, make sure you click the call-in channel queue. You have to have your mic set up. We only have enough time to give you one shot to get in, so see if we can do that. But with that said, we are going to do the giveaway here, so let's start with that. I lied. See, Julia, guys, she delayed the giveaway. It's her fault now. So Julia just joined, so let's see if we can bring her in. Let's see. Microphone muted. I wonder if that's an issue on our end or not. I don't know.
I wonder if that's a default.
It is a default.
It might be default. So make sure you click the unmute on your mic if that is a default on there. I can't do it myself. So, all right. So we'll leave Julie in here. If she ends up joining, then we'll talk a little about it. But let's start the giveaway that we have. Once again, amperage is your keyword. So we're going to roll for that in just a moment. And let's do it now. So the winner of the 4x Bat Hawks that Nick has up on the screen right there is going to go to Boltman 5137 subscriber and following since January 15th. So congratulations. Why does everybody laugh on that? Can't Boltman win things too?
Boltman can win things.
Exactly. If you didn't win, by the way, and you are a sub, make sure you type rigged as many times because you should have won and you should be envious that Boltman won. So congratulations, Boltman. Hey, reach out to me with a
Love
PM.
Boltman.
Reach out to me with a PM and let me know your mailing information so we can get that out to you. And we thank Team 1720 for doing the Bat Hawk giveaways. Thank you. So, all right, I think we got Julia on. Is that correct?
I'm here.
You are here. Awesome. Well, welcome, Julia.
Thank you.
So, Julia, you are from the team we were just showing, right? The CIA team?
My friends told me that I was on her. I didn't actually get a chance to see what you guys were talking about, but yeah.
Well, okay. So,
watch a reveal video.
This is what happens when we do things on the fly, by the way. So we were just watching your reveal video. I hope you've watched it. Is that a correct assumption?
I made the video.
Well, okay. Well, you are the perfect person we want to talk to then. So we were just talking about the robot itself in regards to the roller claw you guys have. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit on first off your robot, and then tell us about the process you made for the video? It's a really well made video.
So yeah, pretty much we started off on kickoff prototyping, like rapid prototyping, and we just tried not to get stuck in the collective direction that everybody seemed to be taking with the RI3D kind of 2015 style roller claws. And we took some inspiration from last year with gear intakes, that the cube kind of rolled back too much, and it didn't really intake like a gear. So we added the bottom roller, and in order to make it grippy enough, you guys are gonna like this, we put inside out duct tape, Gorilla tape, on the roller to make it to really intake the cube. But we found that inside out duct tape works better.
So do you have to replace that like every match or something like that? Or
yeah, we cut it off and replace it every match. But it lasts it'll last more than a match, but just to be safe, we'll replace it every match.
Is that just, you literally just roll it, like wrap it around? Like, is it a really easy thing to do?
It's about 20 seconds just to put it on, cut it off.
That's interesting, yeah.
Works.
Yeah, I spent about 5 hours looking through the manual just to make sure it was legal.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you spent 5 hours training on putting the duct tape on, but
no, I did, just because I didn't want to get to competition and like, oh, that's illegal. But
so
yeah,
how do you guys feel about that strategy, by the way, Pauline and PJ, in regards to? I mean, it's something that I wouldn't have thought of to do for that. So I don't know, Pauline, and your robot builds, where do you lie on reversible duct tape?
I mean, I think definitely you need more grip. When we were prototyping the first week, we obviously were trying a lot of different wheels, a lot of different adhesives, silicone tape, sprays, everything like that. I don't know if duct tape is the solution my team would have gone with. Just
Bye, Pauline.
Oh, Pauline decided to leave.
Oh, I just dropped. Ooh, sorry.
Welcome back.
Sorry.
You mentioned about you were talking about duct tape. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's the solution I would have gone with. Our team doesn't even carry duct tape in our shop.
What kind of shop doesn't have duct tape?
Use gaff tape. It doesn't make any so sticky anywhere. And I don't know, but I would have. There's other things to try. There's like silicone tape and adhesive sprays you can get from McMaster that might work just as well.
Yeah.
But it is a good solution for sure.
Yeah, we use Gorilla tape. Duct tape doesn't work as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, Julia, great video, by the way, and we're excited to see. We'll give you a little plug here. So for you guys, what events are you going to, and what are you most looking forward to in some of your competitions?
We're going to Miami Valley and Buckeye this year, and I'm really looking forward to the experience of week 1 with Miami Valley. That's going to be really interesting. I feel like we'll do well because we're on top of things this year. We've got our robot, fully functional, and working on a 2-cube autonomous mode right now.
You're working on 2. So how far are you on the 2-cube autonomous?
Single cube auto that you saw in the reveal video, as well as an opposite side scale auto. So you start on the right side and it scales randomized to left side. And that works now. And I have the paths all made, and now it's just time to tune it.
Very, very cool. And at the Miami Valley, by the way, interesting to hear somebody say they're looking forward to a week 1 event. They usually don't. That usually terrifying. Is not something you hear too much. But some great teams there: 48, 234, 279, 1675, and yeah. So definitely looks like it's going to be a really competitive event with a lot of great teams there. So best of luck to you guys. Great job in your robot reveal video, and we'll look forward to seeing how your robot competes this year.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for calling, Julia. Take care. All right, guys, it's about time we do wrap up the show tonight. Anything you guys kind of want to wrap up with as we've gone through? PJ, anything you want to plug possibly?
I don't really have anything to plug, but I guess I'm just going to leave with the message. Take care of yourself over this last week of build season. No robot is worth your sanity. So make sure you're getting your sleep. Make sure you're doing well. I'm in school to be a therapist, so that's where so I have a lot of opinions about that. But so yeah, just make sure you're taking care of yourself in this last week. Like I said, no robot is worth your sanity.
Agreed. Do your homework, kids, please. I always have to yell at my kids to do their homework. I want them to get to good colleges. Do your work.
Fair enough. And Paulie, anything with Code Orange you wanna wrap up with?
We're hosting a week 0 scrimmage that hopefully will have a live broadcast, so keep in tune for that. Our first regional is not till week 4, so you won't see our robot till then. But I hope you guys will be excited to see it. It's a pretty cool robot this year.
Very cool. So can't wait to hear about those. So we're going to thank everybody who has watched the show tonight. And if you want more First Robotics in your life and you like what we do, all we ask is you click that little follow button up there so you can get more of what's going on. And don't forget to just tell people about First Updates Now. Let us know what we're doing and let us know how we're doing, by the way. We love to have your feedback as well, too. If you got a few bucks to help us support the stream, we would definitely appreciate it. But if not, just keep watching and let people know about what's going on. And we're just delighted to have you on board with us and First Updates Now. On behalf of myself, Mike, Justin, Christine, Pauline, and Nick, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. And hey, PJ, thanks for coming on as our guest. We can't wait to see you on the FIM Region Recap show starting in just a couple weeks. And of course, thank you to all of our moderators in chat. Stop in for fun tomorrow, by the way. We do have a special show for robot inspections. So if you want to learn more about what to look for in robot inspections, we have an inspector on named Howard, who's going to be talking more about some things that he's seen in inspections. So hopefully you can make sure your team is competition ready. Hey guys, we'll see you next time on First Updates Now. Talk to you then.